In any situation...
Let's put it this way. In any situation where you think hate is being expressed, you are wrong. As the Course says, everything that's happening is either love or a call for love. So when you see attack, what is really going on is a call for love. What is really going on is a request for someone to see that the fear that is motivating the attack is invalid, and the desire to feel and know that it is invalid. The behavior seems to call for defense. But what will solve the problem of the apparent attack is a presence of fearlessness, a presence of peace, the presence of love that conveys one way or another that the behavior is not frightening. And therefore, your brother is not frightening, even though he's behaving in a way that is attempting to engender fear.
So the proper response to an apparent threat is to deny the validity of that apparent threat.
Indeed. You deny it, and you go within and ask to be filled with the appropriate response. The appropriate response to the call for love. In other words, the form of love that will completely obliterate the fear that has engendered an aggressive act, a show of hate. Anyone who is expressing hate is experiencing a severe lack of self-appreciation, of self-worth. A complete lack of his or her being lovable. And the attack is a completely distorted way of saying, look at me. I am better than I think I am. I am better than I think the world thinks I am. I do not deserve to be suffering like this. But those kinds of intelligent words aren't what come out. What comes out is hateful words expressed toward you, distress with you, slanders on your character. But if you're able to stand there recognizing, because you've turned toward the altar, that this is a call for love, and you are at the very least unmoved by the behavior, still in your peace. You have conveyed silently something extremely important to the person in such a great state of fear that he would ask for help through an act of hate. And that is that who he is and how he's feeling and how he's behaving is not disturbing to you. And therefore, maybe because you aren't confirming his awfulness to him, maybe there's another way to look at himself in which he isn't awful. And the moment a glimmer of that occurs within him, he is able to abandon his commitment to his conviction that he has justification for fear, and communication can open. And when you continue to be the presence of calm, intelligence, and love, and he feels your benignness, he's able to relax and, you might say, warm up to you. So, does that answer your question?
Yes?
Okay.
So taking this just a little bit further, so, okay, we're doing it with the Holy Spirit, and we're doing it one-on-one with people who want to attack us. Let's say you're in a group of people, and they're attacking one another. Or that's what it's looking like to me. So I have to go and turn toward the altar and try to, be in my peace, right? That's right, it's really hard to do. And even when I do that, sometimes it really feels like I'm not making any difference or contributing in any way to these people that I care about a lot, who I'm seeing having distress with one another.
Well, one way in which you are helping is that out of the group of people, there's one fewer of that group contributing to the insanity. Mm-hmm. And by your withdrawal of your participation, it's that much more difficult for everyone else to maintain the chaos. Now, you don't do this so that you can have control and make a healing happen. You do it because you're remembering your function, even if everyone else has not remembered theirs. It's that simple.
It's a really different way to be with people than we've been with people, though. I mean, I feel like it's kind of like to be like with you first and like receiving your tone, kind of. But sometimes to people it looks like you don't give a shit, or, you're withdrawing, or, you're not playing with them the way you used to, or...
That is correct. And you must...
And then they really try to get you in.
Yes, and you must understand what's happening and let them go through their withdrawal pains, if you want to call it that. The experience of not having you as their drug of choice that continues their misperceptions. Mm-hmm.
I guess it brings up a lot of feelings of inadequacy of how to answer the call for love, I guess.
That's because everyone who's engaged in attacking each other is feeling a sense of potential power in converting and changing the other. And what you're doing is not being done for the purpose of changing anyone. And so, because you've just stepped out of that arena of the exertion of power for the purpose of changing each other, it feels like you have moved into a place of powerlessness. But you have moved into a place of what I'm going to call infinite groundedness. And as each one of you makes that choice to be in that place of infinite groundedness, you provide what I'm going to call a leverage against the dream that far exceeds the little bit of willingness that you were able to bring to the process. Because what you find yourself joined with is infinite.
I think sometimes I have wanted them to change, though.
Pardon?
I think sometimes I have wanted them to change, and that's probably what I'm wrestling with, right? It's kind of like you turn toward the altar and you feel that kind of groundedness and infinite, like you're saying. And then you turn back and see all this chaos, so try to muck around in it, change them, say a few good things. That doesn't work. You know, it's kind of this.
And since you're moving out of an arena in which changing each other is the modus operandi, it's easy to think that turning to the altar is a new and better way to change everyone.
Right.
And when that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
you wonder what has gone wrong. Remember, the more who are awake, the more difficult it is for those who are asleep to continue dreaming dreams. And so it might not seem immediately rewarding in the larger picture to have made the choice for your peace, to have returned to your function, and to do it because it simply is your divine function, and not because of some power it gives you to be a force for good in the illusion, you see. Okay.
Raj, turning to the altar also means surrendering in that moment. And in surrendering, we join. And
Well, joining is you surrendering your autonomy.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. I mean, they're one and the same.
Yes.
And of course, it also says, and this really hit me hard, is that anything that we perceive lacking in any situation is what we haven't brought to the situation. And so that goes along with what we're talking about here. And so joining, or turning to the altar, means that not only do we surrender, but that we trust that God is in charge of the situation.
Surrender doesn't occur without trust.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
that's a good point, because they have to be all combined here.
Indeed.
And I also remember you stating that if, and I think it was last week, but I wasn't here to hear it, but I heard it, but I read it, that if we would allow you to control, to guide us in all that is meaningful, you will take care of all that is meaningless.
Yes,
So that would apply in this kind of a situation.
of course.
And so trusting that the Holy Spirit is in charge also means that the Holy Spirit is in charge in the other person too.
Of course.
Okay, well, I'm just
Indeed.
clarifying how this how this works. So it's very important to trust, surrender.
And that is the element of charity that was discussed last week, because charity acknowledges that another is further ahead than where their behavior indicates they are.
Ah, you are appealing to the best in them. Or you're addressing the highest in them.
You are acknowledging the highest in them. When you acknowledge that the Holy Spirit is in charge of them as well,
Okay.
you are acknowledging something that is apparently beyond their present sense of themselves and beyond what their behavior is indicating their point of growth is. So yes. Now mind you, we're not talking about an intellectual acknowledgement of the Holy Spirit being in charge. Because when you turn to the altar and you are infilled with the Father's love, you know that the Holy Spirit is in charge of them, that the Father's love is embracing them as well. What you find yourself knowing about yourself, you know is utterly true about your brother. And so you're acknowledging a point they don't seem to have grown to yet, and that is the charity.
So what they observe is you in your peace, in your unruffled attitude, and in your confidence in them.
Yes.
And then you take care of all that's meaningless.
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And you won't know what is meaningless until you've taken these steps. Okay.
Okay, I took some of the things you said last week and kind of twisted them all around. But it seems to be really working for me. So I was thinking that what I'm doing here is taking the world of form, these things I'm seeing with my eyes, and I'm substituting those things for what's real. And by thinking that's what's real, this person attacking me, all this stuff, I'm giving life to it with my mind. Now, have I wandered down off the track again?
No, that is quite correct.
Okay, so...
What you've given life to is your misperception.
Yeah.
Yes.
By believing this hideous person is being an idiot, because I've been stopping some of that and noticing that some of these people are really nice, after all. So it's really working for me, and I can see from what you're saying that I really need to spend more time asking to see what is real. I'm kind of stuck. Part of me is really, really glad to just let go and know that I'm not seeing what's real. But then, like you said, I want to see something really great happen, and sometimes nothing really happens, and it's like, oh, well, I don't know what my question is. Never mind.
Well, it's a wonderful starting point to say, what I'm seeing isn't real. Because that makes it clear to you that you don't know what it is.
Exactly.
And if you don't know what it is, you can't help but have a curiosity begin to form as to what it is. And so sooner or later, you're going to arrive at the point where that curiosity has grown enough for it to be felt by you, and you'll say, oh, well, okay, I got a certain amount of relief from existing in a world that I was seeing that isn't real, and I had a certain amount of peace from no longer reacting to it, but I'm sort of in a limbo here. I'm not being terribly disturbed by anything anymore, but everything is still rather meaningless. And if it isn't real, if the way I'm seeing it is not true, then what is really going on? And that's where the invitation for an infilling from a source beyond your best judgments occurs, and you're no longer isolated. And that's where the shift in perception begins to happen, the miracle. So take it all the way.
Yeah, I'll work on that part. Because the other part's been kind of fun.
Play with that part. Don't work on it. Have fun with that part.
I'm too serious.
Have fun with both parts. Do them lightly, but do them.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, one more question.
I just want to try and bring this all full circle for me. Fear originates in my mind. As you said, the emphasis being upon your mind here.
Yes.
That is where fear originates.
Yes.
Now, and feeling fearful is never valid, and seeing threat is never valid. Now, I usually think I see threat when I presume that my brother is acting fearful. So I think I see fear in my brother, and I interpret that as threat to myself. But the fear cannot be in my brother because the fear is within my mind. And by assuming that my brother is acting fearfully instead of acting as a result of his guidance of the Holy Spirit is what makes the invalid image of threat seem real to me?
No, your brother may well be feeling fear. And his behavior may well be stemming from the fear he is experiencing because he has his back to the altar. Whether or not his behavior based on his fear creates fear in you depends on whether you have your back to the altar.
Not acknowledging that he and I are both just puppets and there is no will that opposes God that would be threatening to me?
What I want everyone to be careful of is theoretical or intellectual acknowledgments. You can make that educated acknowledgement about your brother, but it will lack the unction of love that comes from having turned toward the altar yourself and having been infilled with the Father's love yourself, that constitutes the gift that you will spontaneously extend to your brother because you can't contain it yourself. And thereby, you might say, declare that the two of you are incapable of being governed by fear. You see what I'm saying?
At this point, yes. I think we'll go further in
Your,
later chapters.
your employment of fear cannot cause your brother to behave in an attack mode. Your brothers and sisters are not the puppet of your misperception.
And there is no will in opposition to God's.
That is absolutely correct.
And when I presume threat, I'm thinking that there is a will in opposition to God's that is obviously guiding my brother in his threat towards me.
And you wouldn't do that if you were not asserting a will of your own
Yes.
by not being connected to the altar.
And so, again, feeling threat or seeing fear should be utilized as a reminder that I have turned away from the altar. And if I utilize the reminder to turn back to the altar, the feeling of threat and the fear will disappear into the vaporous nothingness that it ever was.
Yes, and you will look at your brother who may still be behaving on the basis of his severe fear, and you will know how to be the presence that alleviates it.
Respond appropriately because I did turn to the altar
Exactly.
to see what would be appropriate.
Exactly. It's very important to understand that no one and no thing in your world becomes the puppet of your misperceptions. So when someone else is behaving poorly, you cannot say, well, it's my fault. I'm perceiving it. No. When you turn to the altar and you're warmed by the glow of love that is the Father's love, being the very fire of you, because ultimately the fire in the altar, the light in the altar is your essential being. In turning to that, it doesn't eradicate your brother's ignorance. And you will still see a call for love. But you will see it as a call for love, and you will respond with love. And the response with love is what will be transformational, is what will be the trigger for the miracle. So your brothers and sisters are never acting out your dream. You are not responsible for your brother's poor behavior, but your poor response to his poor behavior is your responsibility to correct, because your poor response will confirm his poor response. And it will be the blind leading the blind and falling into the ditch.
So if I react fearful to my perception of his fearful threat to me, then what we have just done is created a mutually agreed upon definition.
Exactly.
I got it.
And then you will defend yourselves against each other and confirm that mutually agreed upon definition even more completely.
Yes.
You have it. Okay, let's continue. Oh.
Okay, we've got, I'm going to assume that if we could, we chose to always face the altar. And we are calling for this infilling love and peace. And we're going through our day, and a brother comes up with what we perceive as an attack, and we're hooked. We're turned from the altar. That's the dynamics.
Yes.
Okay. Could we talk?
That's one of the possibilities, yes.
Okay. But, providing that we all have a little willingness and we all want to do what we're asked to do, and we're okay, so we're mindset, body set, we're going through our day peaceful, and all of a sudden, bam, we're hooked. and we're obviously jerked from the altar. Help us at that